Parallax texture mapping has long been a great way to fake depth on textures without actually changing the geometry. But getting it to work right usually meant building intricate and sometimes complicated node trees. Well, those times are over. There is a new node available through the Blender Extensions platform, and it makes Parallax so easy, it's an offer you simply cannot refuse. In this video, we'll talk about the different texture mapping options that we have in Blender, the key differences, when to use which, and then I'll show you how to get the new node and use it with your materials. Let's roll. Before we jump into the new node though, let's quickly go over the main texture mapping methods that we come across in Blender on a daily basis. We have the bump and normal maps, we have the displacement maps, and now additionally the parallax. And each of these fakes or creates depth in different ways. And knowing the difference helps you pick the right one for the job. So the classic texture mapping methods that we have are of course the bump normal or the displacement. The bump or normal method perturbs surface normals based on a texture input to fake small scale bumps and dents. Bump uses a grayscale input, where normal, which is the newer and more accurate method, uses the one with the funky colors. But it does not modify the geometry or the silhouette of your model. And it also does not influence the shadows. It only provides a very shallow visual depth, but it has a very low performance cost. And it's great to use for small fake details. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the displacement, which moves vertices of a subdivided mesh based on an input height map to create a surface relief. Now this one does modify the geometry and the silhouette, and it also influences the shadows, which is why it's physically more accurate with the details. But it comes at a high performance cost, depending on your subdivision level. But it's great in use for small, real details. Incoming in the middle, between those two, is our parallax. Now the parallax uses a combination of a height map and view-dependent texture coordinate offsets to simulate shifts in depth and self-occlusion. It still does not modify your geometry or silhouette, and it still does not influence the shadows, but it has an increased depth perception, which comes at a slightly higher cost in performance compared to the bump or normal method. It's still not as high as a displacement method, but it's a great use for faking in between needs. And you'll see in a little bit what I mean by that. So now that we've covered the theory, let's take a look at how these mapping methods actually behave in Blender. So here I have three simple planes set up with a roofing tile texture. Right now they're completely flat because I have not set them up for any texture mapping method, and we'll go through that together. We're going to start with the normal and bump method, then jump over to the displacement before having a look at the new parallax node. And when we get to that, I'll also show you how to get it and how to install it. So let's start with the normal and bump. So if we move over here, I'm going to select my plane and bring up the shader editor. So the classic method would be to use the normal map, which is, if we look at it, the one with the funky colors. So our normal map would go through a normal map node, which we then feed into the normal input of our principled BSDF. And as soon as I do that, we have a better depth perception on our texture. If we look around our model, we can see that we do not change the geometry at all. The plane stays completely flat. And we can change the strength of our bump node here to adjust the look of it. So that would be the method that you use when everything is far away, or if it's a small detailed item in your scene. If we don't have a normal map available, but we have a grayscale map, like this displacement map, for example, we can feed that into the height input of a bump node and use that instead on the principal BSDF. And then we can play with the distance and adjust the settings there until we have what we need. So essentially the bump and normal method do the same thing at a very low performance cost. Let's move on to the displacement, where we feed our displacement map into a displacement node, which we can then put into our material output. And initially nothing happens because displacement needs geometry. And right now we only have 4 vertices. So we could go into edit mode, and as soon as I subdivide that, even with 1 extra vertex, we can already see that something happens. If I increase the subdivisions now, the more I subdivide this, the more happens. If I bring this up to 100, now we actually have roofing tiles. And then we could additionally put on a subdivision surface modifier to make this even smoother, and then shade it. And this will look really, really nice. It changes the surface of our plane. It would affect the shadows. However, if we look at the statistics up here, right now we have 43,000, over 43,000 vertices in our scene. So if I take my plane and the text objects here and hide them, we're dropping down to 8, which are the 2 planes. And that's why displacement comes at such a high performance cost. Imagine this being a complicated scene with lots of elements. It does take a toll, especially in terms of render times. That is the big caveat with a displacement method. So in comes the middle child, which is the parallax method. So for our parallax to work, we need the node. So let's grab it. Let's go up to Edit Preferences and Get Extensions. And here we can enter Parallax node. And you'll see a little install button here that you can just push, and that's all you got to do. Now we need to set up our texture setup here. So let's bring over the texture coordinate a little bit. And to get the node in, all we got to do is Shift A. And now we see down here, we have an added option, Parallax Nodes, Parallax. Let's bring that into here. And this one will replace our classic texture coordinate node. So we'll plug that into the vector of our mapping node. And not much has changed. It almost looked like it dropped down a little, but nothing really has changed yet. And that is because the parallax node needs a height map input to work properly. And we can choose that one here. Or if you have a complex scene with hundreds of materials already, you can just go and find your displacement texture here and copy that path right there, and then find it right here by pasting it. And as soon as we plug that texture map in there, you can already see that we have a change here. Now the UV map option that we have here, if I zoom in a little so you can see that better. The UV map option here, if you have more than one UV set on your models, you can choose the desired UV map here. If you only have one standard UV map on your model, you can leave that blank. Now the steps, they determine how many iterations of that calculation Blender does under the hood. So think of it as the quality of your parallax shading. So never go too high, never go too low, then it's completely flat. How well this works depends a lot on the quality of your height map input. So whatever displacement or height map texture you plug in here, that quality determines how well this works in the steps. So this one, we can almost bring it up to 10. And then we can also dial in the strength. We can go into the negative. Although on a roofing tile texture, I don't know why you would that, but that's okay. So again, you have to be careful with those values. So you never want to go too extreme. Then the texture just gets completely distorted. So for this, we'll probably go up to, let's say 8 maybe, 8 and 10 steps, something like that. The bias, I think of it like the mid-level on the displacement node. It's basically just adjusting the texture a little more. I usually leave that at 0.5 and be done with it. But we can see we have a lot more depth perception now. Without changing the geometry, without adding any subdivision to it. So if we were a little further away, this would be a great way to bring depth into our texture where we don't need the complexity of a displacement map. Added details, we can of course plug in our normal map here. Although the closer you get, the more of these artifacts here you will see. But especially with those two methods combined, again, the normal map method has basically zero performance impact. So there isn't really a problem to combine these two methods. But you can now see that we have a nice depth perception and we can increase that to our liking. And depending on how you view it, because the view angle plays a role in how this works, it does look a lot more displaced and 3D than the bump or normal method. If you look at the shadows, if we come in from the other side, here we still see those dark lines. Here they're a lot more broken up and it looks a lot more 3D. Same if we come in from the other side, all of a sudden we have a lot more shadows than we have on our normal method. Now in this case I might have dialed it up a little too strong. Or we could just take the normal map out, but it's just a great way to display something more 3D if displacement takes up too much computing power. So now that we've seen how the different methods behave, let's look at it in a real scene example. So here we have one of my eternal work in progress files, which I promise I will finish at some point. But the point being here is I have a fireplace bulk here and I want to have some sort of brick texture on it. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to leave this one here or I'm going to go for some cultured stone or whatever. Not the point. The point is if I would do a shot from somewhere back here where this becomes more of a background object. You got to imagine there's going to be a couch here and dining tables and there's decorations around here. So off that brick texture you see maybe 20 to 30%. And I've worked on a potato PC for long enough to know that subdividing this element and giving it a real displacement can waste a lot of your available computing power. So that's where a parallax method would be great. So if I go in here and I'm just going to I'm going to get rid of the displacement here and I'm going to bring in my parallax node. I'm going to look for my brick wall displacement texture and then I plug that into the vector. Immediately we can see a little more depth perception on the brick. And then I can dial in my strength. Let's see what we get here. I think the default was actually pretty good already. 10 maybe. Maybe let's bring in the steps a little. So if I switch back to my regular UV, this looks very flat. I do have a normal map on there, which already brings me a little bit of depth. But using the parallax method almost makes these bricks look 3D, especially from this viewing angle. So if I were to only see it from this far away, maybe I even throw some depth of field in. This would be an application where the parallax method saves me a lot of computing power that I don't want to waste on a background object. And then if I wanted to do a close-up shot of this area, I could always make a copy of that object and then subdivide it and give it real displacement. But for a shot like this, with a brick texture, or even if it was wood paneling or something like that, the parallax method is just great. By the way, this is a kitchen that I designed in Blender and then actually built for one of my clients with the dimensions and all the information taken directly from the Blender file. And if you're interested in learning how to do that, check out my new course, CRAFTSMAN Precision Modeling for Real-World Application. Over the course of 7 hours, I'll walk you step by step through everything from planning, modeling, texturing, and presenting your scene, and then how to bring it into the workshop. It's also full of insights from the actual workshop where we look at real-world materials and carpentry techniques. It's great for ArchViz artists, DIY, cabinetry professionals, so definitely go check that out. It's available to stream for anybody who's subscribed to cgcookie.com, and it's also available for standalone purchase from the Superhive market. And I'll leave links to that in the description. So I hope you found this helpful and you're maybe intrigued by the parallax mapping method. If you did, show the like and subscribe buttons some love. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. And remember, keep the shiny side up.